Midnight News coming to you live from Algiers. I'm your host, Mariam Zian, and here are your top stories for tonight. President Tebboune drives formation of tripartite strategic alliance as Algerian, Tunisian and Libyan leaders conclude inaugural consultative meeting in Tunis. Next, death toll in Gaza reaches over 34,100 as Ministry of Health reports ongoing aggression and 32 killed in 3 Zionist massacres. And U.S. State Department finds reports of mass graves in Gaza troubling. Welcome back to the program. President Abdelmajid Tebboune returned to Algiers on Monday following his participation in Tunis in the inaugural consultative meeting among the leaders of Algeria, Tunisia and Libya. Upon his arrival at Houari bin Medine International Airport, President Tebboune was greeted by Prime Minister Nadir Al-Arbawi and Chief of Staff of the People's National Army, General of the Army, Saïd Shengriha. The first consultative meeting was wrapped up with a final communiqué in which the leaders of Algeria, Tunisia and Libya emphasized the need to unify positions and intensify consultation and coordination. Their aim is to strengthen the fundamental elements of security, stability and development in the region and enhance its resilience in the face of emerging regional variables and successive international crises. Algeria, Tunisia and Libya formed a new strategic partnership as their leaders met in Tunis, Tunisia for their consultative trilateral meeting. Here's Marwa Belaiwar with more details.
Algeria, Tunisia and Libya initiated a new strategic alliance. Their first meeting in Tunis, Tunisia included talks between the 3 leaders, Abdelmajid Tebboune, Qais Said and Mohamed El-Menfi, to form a new cooperation based on efficient partnership, consultation and coordination. The 3 nations solidified their commitment to addressing mutual challenges as articulated in the meeting's concluding statement.
اعتماد خطط عمل جديدة وناجعة لمزيد توثيق
The strong determination to adopt a new effective action plan to further strengthen cooperation and strategic partnership and support integration among the 3 countries in order to enhance their resilience.
They agreed to hold regular meetings rotating among the 3 countries to discuss regional security, pledging to present a unified stance in both regional and global arenas.
الإدراك المشترك بضرورة توحيد المواقف وتكثيف التشاور والتنسيق.
The common awareness of the necessity of unifying positions and intensifying consultations and coordination to strengthen the elements of security, stability and development in the entire region.
The leaders also focused on providing political support to Libya for its transition through the upcoming elections. They also denounced foreign meddling in Africa, particularly in Libya, which they see as a destabilizing factor exacerbating conflicts and extending its impact to the Sahel region.
الرفض التام للتدخلات الأجنبية في الشأن الليبي.
Total rejection of foreign interference in Libyan affairs and support of efforts aimed at achieving the organization of elections in a way that preserves Libya unity and territorial integrity and ensure its security.
Illegal migration emerged as a shared concern, leading to the decision to establish a joint border protection commission to curb it. Additionally, the leaders warned against foreign interference in the Sahelo-Saharan area, stressing its potential to destabilize regional and global peace. They highlighted the importance of collaborative Arab-African initiatives facilitated by the UN to address humanitarian crises and foster dialogue as a pathway to resolving conflicts, aiming to alleviate the population's suffering and re-establish stability.
The meetings between Algeria, Tunisia and Libya aim to establish a true Maghreb integration project, enhancing the weight and the strength of the three countries. Algeria plans to build free trade zones with Tunisia and Libya to foster regional value chains and increase resilience to economic shocks. Here's Zahra Farjani with more.
Geographical links and economic convergence between Algeria, Tunisia and Libya have shaped real and effective regional integration. The tripartite Maghreb Summit supports the establishment of a strong economic bloc aimed at sustainable development for over 65 million people. Algeria's GDP reached $224 billion in 2023. Libya surged to $50 billion, and Tunisia's reached $47 billion, creating a $321 billion economic force. The International Monetary Fund predicts economic growth in Algeria of 3.8%, 4.8% in Libya, and 3.8% in Tunisia. These estimations are based on sustained economic activity, with an allocated budget of $113 billion in Algeria, $34.3 billion in Libya, and $25 billion in Tunisia. Tripartite cooperation will create a productive and profitable business environment, promoting commercial openness without custom duties or administrative barriers between the three countries, stimulating regional investments. This tripartite Maghreb summit paves the way for regional economic integration, accelerating growth to serve the prosperity and well-being of the peoples of the three countries.
Stay here for news about the war in Gaza and more developments in the occupied Palestinian territories. Palestinian Ministry of Health in the Gaza Strip announced on Tuesday that the death toll from the Zionist war had risen to 34,183 martyrs and 77,143 injured. The same source explained that the occupation has committed 3 massacres against families in the Gaza Strip, killing 32 and injuring 59 during the past 24 hours. This comes as a number of citizens were martyred and dozens injured on Tuesday on the 200th day of the ongoing aggression on the Gaza Strip. Spokesperson for the UN High Commissioner for Human Rights said that the chief of the United Nations body, Volker Turk, said on Tuesday that he was horrified by the destruction of the Nasser and Al-Shifa medical facilities in Gaza and reports of mass graves containing hundreds of bodies there. Ravina Shamdasani added that the UN organization calls for an independent, effective and transparent investigations into the deaths. Palestinian authorities reported finding hundreds of bodies in mass graves at Nasser hospitals in Khan Yunis this week after it was abandoned by occupation troops.
We are horrified also by the destruction of Al-Nasser Medical Complex and Al-Shifa Medical Complex and the reports of the discovery of mass graves in and around facilities. And we call for independent, effective, transparent investigations into the deaths. Given the prevailing climate of impunity, this should include international investigators. Hospitals are entitled to very special protection under international humanitarian law. And let's be clear, the intentional killing of civilians, detainees, and others who are hors de combat is a war crime.
After 200 days since the onset of the Zionist war in the Gaza Strip, the ramifications have become evident across all levels. Most of the infrastructure, equipment, and substantial portion of health, educational, and administrative institutions have been devastated by the Zionist occupation. Nabil Khazini has more details.
This was Gaza only 201 days ago, a lively city full of movement, with a unique charm. But then, from above and from the land, an apocalyptic view for as far as the eye can see. Today, Gaza carries the scars of war, and what remains is barely memories. The occupation has written in Gaza one of the darkest chapters in this 21st century warfare.
Who will give us back our homes, our memories, and our dreams? We were supposed to be thinking about how to build for our children's future. Unfortunately, they took us back to square one.
200 days after the start of this aggression on the Gaza Strip, the Palestinian resistance is still inflicting heavy losses on the occupation war machine with all of its latest military industry technology. This is seen as a measurable failure for the occupation at the military as well as political levels. The death toll from the occupation was put at more than 600 officers and soldiers since the beginning of the aggression, while the number of injured reached 3,294, according to statistics that are highly questionable even within the entity. For people here, to remain living in Gaza is a point of national pride, but what awaits Gaza after the war is an ambiguous, fuzzy future. 200 days of war, and everyone is asking when, what, and who will make all of this come to an end.
U.S. State Department said on Tuesday that reports on mass graves in Gaza were troubling. This last development follows the recovery of hundreds of bodies buried deep in the ground and covered with waste over the weekend at Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, central Gaza, and at Al-Shifa Hospital in Gaza City in the north.
Right. That is squarely where we have seen those reports, and the reports are incredibly troubling, and we're inquiring on this with the government of Israel.
Specifically on that?
Correct. I don't have any specific information to offer, insight into what this is or isn't. I don't have a sense of that from up here, but we are inquiring about this with the government.
Qatari Foreign Ministry spokesman Majid Al-Ansari stated on Tuesday that there is currently no justification for closing the Hamas office in Doha, emphasizing that Qatar remains committed to its mediation efforts aimed at ending the conflict in Gaza. Al-Ansari added that Qatar is in a phase of re-evaluation regarding its mediation efforts, highlighting that Hamas leaders in Doha enjoy freedom of movement without any restrictions.
As long as Hamas office in Doha is doing its role, meaning that the mediation efforts are still ongoing, there is no justification to end the presence of the office in Doha. Currently, I cannot comment on such statements that you mentioned. For us, as we have said before, Qatar is still committed to the mediation efforts, but we are in a phase of reassessment.
The Qatari Foreign Ministry expressed frustration over the inability to reach a ceasefire agreement during Ramadan and Eid al-Fitr, indicating a challenging situation for mediators involved in the peace process. Let's take a listen.
Regarding the Hamas office here in Doha, this office was opened in coordination with the United States for the purpose of mediation between both sides, as long as their presence here in Doha, as we have always said, is useful and positive in this mediation effort. They will remain here in Doha. That said, of course, as we said, we are reassessing our role as mediators, but any decisions regarding this issue will not be taken unless we are finished with that reassessment and we are ready to convey the results of this reassessment.
Still within the same context, and at the first consultative meeting in Tunis, the leaders of Algeria, Tunisia, and Libya stressed the need to hold the leaders of the Zionist occupation accountable for crimes against the Palestinian people. They renewed their condemnation of the violations and genocide, calling on the international community to immediately stop the aggression and lift the siege on Gaza.
وترسيخا الإدانة القوية للانتهاكات اليومية الصارخة وجرائم الحرب.
Strong condemnation of the blatant daily violations, war crimes and genocide committed against the brotherly Palestinian people, and renewing the urgent call for the international community to immediately and permanently stop the barbaric aggression and completely lift the siege on the Gaza Strip, to secure the arrival of food and medical aid and track down the occupation leaders and hold them accountable for their crimes, as well as steadfast support for the steadfastness of the brave Palestinian people to restore all their legitimate historical rights and establish their independent, fully sovereign state with Holy Al-Aqsa as its capital, and absolute support for the right of the state of Palestine to obtain full membership in the United Nations.
وعاصمتها القدس الشريف والمساندة المطلقة لحق دولة فلسطين في الحصول على عضوية كاملة ودائمة في منظمة الأمم المتحدة.
Algeria's Foreign Minister Mr. Ahmed Attaf affirmed that addressing the dire situation in Gaza, the broader Palestinian issue remains the country's foremost concern within the Security Council. He also emphasized Algeria's commitment to advocating for an immediate and lasting ceasefire. During his meeting with Miryanas Pouliarik-Ega, president of the International Committee of the Red Cross, Attaf reiterated Algeria's dedication to supporting the Palestinians' fundamental right to establish their own independent state. He stressed that this is crucial for achieving sustainable peace and stability in the Middle East region.
And in the same vein, we continue to emphasize the compelling imperative of upholding the historic and unalienable right of the Palestinian people to statehood as the only way forwards towards achieving lasting peace and stability in the region.
The Algerian Foreign Minister highlighted that the International Committee of the Red Cross can count on Algeria's unwavering support within the Security Council to vigorously uphold its humanitarian mandate as an independent and impartial entity. He commended the committee's teams for their commendable efforts in the Gaza Strip, expressing appreciation and praise in this regard.
Looking ahead, I can assure you, Madam President, that the ICRC can fully count on the Algerian voice within the Security Council to speak up for its invaluable humanitarian mandate as a neutral, impartial, and independent life-saving organization. Let me also take this opportunity to tell you how much we appreciate the work of the ICRC teams based in Gaza, those teams who continue to provide key healthcare and other vital services under horrific circumstances.
The Algerian Foreign Minister emphasized the distinguished nature of the relationship between Algeria and the International Committee of the Red Cross, highlighting ongoing cooperation. He expressed Algeria's keenness to further enhance the productive dialogues initiated several months ago with the committee, particularly regarding the Palestinian issue and other pertinent crises. Let's have a listen.
I look personally forward to deepening the fruitful and very useful consultations we had started 3 months ago in New York about this issue, as well as about other crisis situations in our neighborhood and far beyond. In all these troubled environments, the ICRC has truly proven itself as a force of good, a beacon of hope, and as a key partners towards peace and stability.
Massive protests erupted in Western capitals condemning the Zionist occupation forces' actions in Gaza. Demonstrators demanded an immediate end to the violence and expressed solidarity with the Palestinian people. In Spain, hundreds gathered in Madrid, Barcelona, and the Canary Islands, urging the government to sever ties with the occupation. Similar protests occurred in Marseille, Istanbul, and Malmö, denouncing the atrocities committed in Gaza and calling for freedom for Palestine. In other developments, the U.S. issued sanctions against individuals and entities linked to Iran's Revolutionary Guard Cyber Command, according to a post on the U.S.'s Treasury Department's website. Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, General Said Shingriha, affirmed that in light of the developments prevailing in the regional and international arena, the Algerian army has taken deliberate and rational steps based on combining the acquisition of combat skills with high professionalism. This came during a work-in and inspection visit paid on Tuesday by the Chief of Staff of the Algerian Army to the 3rd Military Region as part of a series of periodic visits to various military regions and to follow up on the implementation of the Combat Preparedness Program for 2023 and 2024.
ومن أجل التكيف المستمر مع التطورات الحاصلة.
In order to constantly adapt to the developments prevailing in our regional and international environment and to effectively confront new threats, we have undertaken an inclusive preparation, which included the various components of the People's National Army. Through the mobilization of human and material resources to achieve our objectives of defining the true contours of the future development of the combat preparedness of the People's National Army. We have made of these well-studied and rational steps a daily behavior at the People's National Army that combines the acquisition of combat skills with high professionalism through the continuous training and the good execution of the different drills.
And for more international news, let's follow this report by Hussein Birkan.
Prosecutors asked the judge overseeing Donald Trump's criminal hush money trial on Tuesday to punish the former U.S. president for violating a gag order that prevents him from criticizing witnesses and others involved in the case. Prosecutors are asking Merchant to fine Trump for criticizing witness and his former lawyer Michael Cohen, both of whom are expected to testify in the trial. Bolivian police fired tear gas on Monday to disperse e-protests in La Paz by teachers from across the country demanding an increase in the budget for public education and rejecting a controversial pension bill they say will force them to retire at 65. Hundreds of teachers from across the country were marching to the Ministry of Education building in La Paz when they found riot police guarding the surrounding streets. Hundreds of thousands of Argentines will demonstrate in Buenos Aires on Tuesday against university budget cuts, showing the resistance that ultra-liberal President Javier Milei may face in implementing his crude fiscal adjustment. The protest, called by leaders, teachers, and students of public universities, which has the backing of trade unions and opposition parties, seeks to restore a budget that has undergone a severe adjustment since Milei took office in December under the promise to eliminate the public deficit. A Russian court on Tuesday rejected the latest in a series of appeals by Wall Street Journal reporter Ivan Gershkovich against his pre-trial detention on charges of espionage. Gershkovich, 32, became the first U.S. journalist arrested on spying charges in Russia since the Cold War, when he was detained by the Federal Security Service on March 29 last year. He, his newspaper, and the U.S. government all deny he's a spy.
This was it for tonight's program. Thank you very much for following. Until tomorrow, see you.